friends, I'm so glad to have you here today. I'm Nikki and this is my channel, Nikki Hearts Cards. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Today we're going to be looking at a beautiful card that is a collaboration between Altenew and Honeybee Stamps. We're going to be using the stamp wheel, which if you haven't seen this before, I will briefly go over some different things about this product and how we make this beautiful stamp and stencil combo. I'll be using a product from the new Honeybee release called the Bountiful banner, and it's got such great sentiments and this beautiful floral arrangement with matching stencils. So we're going to use this stamp wheel for all of these. This comes with a die set, so I'm going to go ahead and pull off the die that goes with this stamp, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. But when I do this, it will help me make sure that I line up this stamp appropriately so that it will cut easily. Let me show you a trick to that. Okay, we'll start with getting our paper prepped. Now notice I'm doing this outside of the stamp wheel because the stamp wheel has a sticky mat on the inside and you don't want to get your powder all over the sticky mat or it doesn't quite work as well. So I'm going to go ahead and powder the piece of paper outside the stamp wheel, and then we're going to line it up in the stamp wheel and get all of this arranged so that you can see. So this is a sticky grid mat. What I like about the grid mat is that I can make sure that my paper is on. Can you see how there's a grid? I can make sure it's straight on that page. I'm not going to do a whole lot of pressing it down, and I'm going to be careful about touching it because it has powder all over it. So I'm just going to make sure I've got it lined up and carefully touch, and then we'll go ahead and set our stamp on it. And this is where we're going to use that die cut to make sure that I don't stretch the stamp out or mess it up in any way. So let me show you how I do that. Okay, so a quick tip to make sure that your stamp fits the die. So sometimes you kind of stretch your stamps out or you put them on a little wonky. What you can do is set the die down, put your stamp so that it fits into the die. Look at this. So I'm fitting all of these flowers the correct way in the die. And once I've got them, they kind of stick in there because they stick up just a little bit. Once you've got it nice and flush, then you can put this all back down on your paper and pick up the stamp with the stamp wheel top. So I'm going to line it up. Now it's got that die behind it because I'm making sure that I've got things correct. And I'm going to take this top notch. You see how I've got a hole at the top of the stamp wheel. I'm going to press down and it's going to pick up both the stamp and the die. I'm just going to take that die off, knowing that it will easily cut when I am ready. Now I'm going to heat emboss this, but I'm going to use some intense black ink from Honeybee and ink up this stamp. Now this is the first time I've inked up the stamp, so you have to work at it just a little bit. I did kind of rub any extra plastic to try to get the best stamp I could, but you know, sometimes those first couple stamps you're going to have to re-ink. One nice thing about the stamp wheel is I don't have that, like my other stamp platforms, I don't have an area where I can use the whole surface basically. I could stamp and press on it, and now I'm just going to put this down and I'm going to do it a couple times. And as long as you line up your top hole of the stamp wheel there, then it is going to line up every time and you're going to get a perfect stamp. It makes that whole lining up layered images so much easier because everything is on a sticky mat, so it's not moving. It's so great. So once I get this as dark as I want, I'm going to add some clear embossing powder, emboss it, and then we're going to show you, or I'm going to show you how we do stencils with this cool stamp wheel. So you don't have to do the heat embossing. I just really like a very bold image because we're going to use a really bold background. This stencil set from Honeybee has 6 different stencils, and although it may be hard to see, all of the stencils are layered. So it's a little difficult to show in here, but the top right corner of each one says what it is, and it kind of tells you the order. Like there'll be big leaves 1, big leaves 2, small leaves 1, small leaves 2. This one's large flowers. I always like to start with the largest thing. It just kind of makes me feel better. But one thing that Honeybee does with their stencils is they've got the whole rest of the outline. So the only open spot in this stencil is the flowers, but it's got the outline of everything else, so it's very easy to see where you need to put your stencil. Now you may wonder, why in the world am I using tape when I have this sticky mat? Well, this stencil is smaller than the piece of paper that I cut it out on, and since I'm going to be die cutting this piece, I decided that I would use a bigger piece of paper, and so I can add tape to my sticky mat without causing any problems, and that's how I'm going to hold this down. You could go ahead and die cut your image, and then you would be able to hold it down with a sticky mat. That is perfectly fine. I just chose to do it this way, and I'm going to use a little bit of tape. I'm going to briefly show you the colors that I used, and one other thing about the stamp wheel. These mini stamp pads stick and fit perfectly on the edge of my stenciled piece. So even though my paper is a little bit bigger than an A2, I can fit that mini ink pad there and then it doesn't move, which makes it a little easier to get my ink. I'm starting with Coral Berry and I'm just going to do a light amount of it over all of these flowers. Now I love adding extra detail to my stencils, so I did the Coral Berry lightly over all the flowers, and now I'm taking a detail brush and I'm using the same Coral Berry, just a heavier hand, to go in from the outside to create that spotlight look. And because these are the biggest piece of this design, I'm actually going to go in with the Ruby Red, which is the next color after Coral Berry, kind of in the set that Altenew provides. And I'm using a little flat brush and just doing the edges of the flowers just to give it a little bit more dimension. Okay, and here's how that looks, and then I'm going to go through and tell you the colors I use for the others, but we're not going to do any extensive stenciling because most of this I really wanted to show you how to use the stamp wheel and how to produce this really fun, cute card with these colors. Let me show you the stencil. See what I mean? How you can see the outline around everything? It's like a white line, and then there's areas that are cut out. So this is small leaves. There's only a few places that are cut out, but it really helps you to line up these stencils. Very, very nice. So I just thought that was a really cool function of these honeybee stencils. So because we have so many leaves on this, I'm going to use the same 4-color, Altenew does these sets where they've got 4 colors that coordinate, and I'm just going to use them in different orders to create the leaves. So I'm going to do some light colored leaves, some dark colored leaves, and so I'm going to rotate the sea glass, ocean waves, dusk, and desert night so that I just get some variation in those leaves. And I'm not going to show you all of this because, like I said, I don't want this video to get too long, but I do want to show you how I came up with those color combos. And if you haven't tried these little blending brushes from Altenew, I am super impressed. I only own 3 of them, but I really like them. They really make filling in a stencil like this very easy. So I'm going to use Dusk for this stencil. This, I believe, is Big Leaves 1. And so I'm going to use Dusk, which is the 3rd level of darkness in that pack of 4. So we'll start with Dusk, and then we're going to move to the second stencil. Okay, here's how that looks. So that one is Dusk. Now let's move to our next layer, Big Leaves 2. Now for our next one, we're going to use Desert Night, which is the darkest color in this series. It's more like a navy if you really make it super dark. And I'm going to use that on Big Leaves 2. So we'll do this one in Desert Night. So I love this trick of using a set of colors so that everything is perfectly coordinated. So even though they're slightly different colors, they're in the same family, they look great. So now we're moving to small leaves, and I'm going to use Ocean Waves and Dusk. So large leaves, I used Dusk and Desert Night, and this one I'm going 1 level lighter with Ocean Waves and Dusk. So on this stencil, I'm going to do a layer of Ocean Waves, and then I'm going to come in with a detail brush, and at the ends of each of these, I'm just going to add just a little bit of Dusk just to give them that nice shadow towards the back. I just like adding lots of extra detail to my stencils, so I'll add a little bit of Dusk now. This set has a few little berries that you fill in too, so I used the darkest of the reds in the set, which is called Grapevine. So switch to the berries part of the stencil. So I'm doing Ruby Red on the little, I don't know what you call those, holly berries, I don't know. But I'm doing Ruby Red. The other color is Grapevine. And then I'm going to do a little bit of the lightest color in this family. I'm going to do these little areas. There's only like 2 of these on here, and this Frosty Pink. So just a little bit of Frosty Pink. Now to pull in the lightest color from the blues, we're going to use Sea Glass, and this is on Small Leaves 2, I believe. And so I'm going to put a little bit of Sea Glass down on this one. So all that's left is there's a stencil that you can fill in the banner and make it a color if you want to. I actually left that white. And then I'm going to do some more Frosty Pink on those teeny tiny buds at the top and the bottom. And you can color in the centers of the flowers. I'm going to end up using some pearls on the center of the flowers, so you don't necessarily have to do that if you're going to use something else there. Now let's turn this into a super bold card. I love putting bright colors with a background that is dark. So I grabbed some navy paper. I did trim the corners of those paper to make them a little bit rounded, and then I'm just going to add this huge die cut. It takes up the whole front of the card, so your card is pretty much done, which is amazing, and it just looks beautiful. Look at all that color variation in that stencil. I cut out the banner. It comes with a way to cut out your banner, and so I stamped the sending love, and then I'm going to use these pearls as the center of the flowers. Okay, as we finish up this card, I'm going to be adding these pearls, which are just so, they're perfect. The color just looks great with this. But I'm going to add these pearls. I'm going to kind of put this card together while I talk to you about a couple quick things. First of all, if you want to see more on the Altenew stamp wheel, stay tuned in this video. Once I finish the card, I am going to show you how you make a wreath with the Altenew stamp wheel. It's just going to be a simple demonstration, but it'll show you one of the key features of the stamp wheel is being able to rotate it so that you can easily make arches and circles and wreaths and things like that. And it's something that is a very cool feature, so I want to make sure that you see that if you're interested in wanting to learn more about the stamp wheel. If you are heading out at this point and are not interested in the stamp wheel, just wanted to see the card, just know that everything that I used in this card is linked in the description below. I would love it if you'd hit the like and subscribe on my channel. 80% of people are not subscribed, and I'd love to have you here as part of my community. Look at how beautiful this is. I just love how it turned out, and I love that bold background. It just really makes it pop. Now this isn't a part of the card we made, but I wanted to quickly show you another capability of the stamp wheel if you were here just learning all these tips and tricks. This sticky mat is amazing. I really love it. And you can wash it off if it gets nasty. So I like to line it up on those lines right there so that I can see. They do have coming out, I think they've been sold out for a little while, but alignment guides that can help you get this right in the middle. Right, for my purposes right now, I'm just lining up best I can so that I can show you the capabilities of making a wreath or stamping lots of images on a page at one time. So I'm going to use that same Bountiful set, and I'm going to use 2 of the flowers, and I'm going to stamp them in different colors so you can kind of see how this process goes. You always want to start with your stamp wheel hole up at the top in the middle where it's supposed to be, and then we're going to flip over and we're going to start adding color. I'm going to use a purple and a pink so that you can kind of follow where these go on the piece of paper and see what I mean with the wreath. So I'm going to do as close as I can stamp these 2 together, which means they're going to be overlapping. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not using this for a card really. I just wanted to show you for demonstration purposes. So we're going to start with our hole at the top, okay? And you can put them down, and really until you press on it, you're not getting much on the paper. But once I do that, I've got my 2 flowers here. Then I can flip it over, re-ink, and we can start turning and making a wreath, okay? It's going to be really cool. See, that's 1 turn. You can always look at this ahead of time if you want to see, but this is 1 turn. Here's 2 turns, and you can label your stamp wheel if you want to. You can put numbers on all these edges so you know what you're doing. I'm just going to fill it in, and I'm going to speed it up and show you how it makes a circle. So here's 1 turn. Look at those cute flowers. Now we're going to do another one. Let me count it for you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And see, it's the 4th stamp that we've done too. So you know where you're going. You can always label these edges with numbers, but we'll count this next one for you too, just so you can see that and make sure. So top is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's our 5th stamp. You see how that matches perfectly? So fun. Let me show you the full wreath so you can see how this turned out. Now mine overlaps just a little bit, but look at how cool that's going to be. Just love this tool. I hope you loved all these tips and tricks and had fun making this card with me using the stamp wheel. There is an Instagram hop going on right now for prizes, so make sure that you check in my description and join us over there for a chance to win some gift cards to Altenew and Honeybee. Check out this video next. Have a great day. Bye!